All right, welcome back with us. We've got a good friend of mine, Teren, joining us. We already talked about it before we took the break. He is the son of Todd Christensen. Should be a Hall of Fame tight end. So, Teren, why don't you, if you want, you can even recap how we met and all that, and we'll go into some questions about your dad and whatever else that comes up.
Okay. Well, tonight's the first time I met Kyle, but I've known Bill since third grade, I think, right?
Sounds about right. I don't know. We moved so much, I lost track of where all I went to elementary, but I think that sounds right. I think I moved there second or third grade, and then moved away fifth. So
Yeah. So you were there, well, all of fourth grade. I don't think you were there in fifth. I think you may have moved during the summer or something.
yeah,
But yeah, so Bill and I went to elementary school together for a couple of years. We were best friends in elementary, and then he and his family moved to Nebraska. So, but we stayed here in Utah.
and
Good
you're still
choice.
there in Utah,
Yeah,
up in the
I'm
Provo area.
I'm living with my mom now down just in the house we lived in when you were here.
Oh, okay,
So
cool. Loved
yeah,
that house.
yeah,
A lot of good
it's a
times there.
it's home. It's home. Yeah.
So, Taryn, what are you doing now?
So I am a social worker. Um, I think of myself as the therapist, so you can kind of interchange those. I work for a state hospital working with mentally ill adults
Okay.
with like schizophrenia, bipolar, all different types of diagnoses.
That's an interesting line of work. I'm sure you see some stuff doing that.
Yeah. So I don't know if this was part of your line of talking because I think that my dad's probably more important to your listeners, but
No, we want to talk to you.
with
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
my disability. So I was born with spina bifida, and I've been using a wheelchair since I was 12. Um, that is the line of work that I've actually been um, interested in since high school.
Yeah.
So this actually does tie into my dad, though. He was a psychology major in college before going into the NFL. I like to tell people that counseling was sort of his plan B if football didn't work out. But because of the type of person that he was, he probably never would have had a plan B anyway. Like he never would have let plan B work out
Yeah.
because plan A never, it not working out wasn't an option. He wanted to be a professional football player since he was like 8, and ever since watching Jim Brown play.
That's interesting that was his inspiration.
Yeah.
He actually was a fullback in college, so he wanted to run like Jim Brown. He was a bit taller and lankier than Jim Brown was,
Yes,
but
he was.
pretty good.
um, that's one memory I have of your dad that that really still stands out to me is when he found out that we were moving away. Um, he said that I can't move away because he's got to get me thickened up before he sends me off. And he was always one that we would work out together. And you are still an inspiration. Like, I see your workout videos and pictures, and my God, you have a very impressive upper body.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very nice. And I still wish that I could have stayed there to obviously hang out with you, but that weight room didn't have that at home. So
That would have been a cool thing for you staying around. Also, I mean, not that I mean, I think that working out probably would have been part of our friendship
Oh, for sure. And I would,
because we would either, work out in my gym or work out at Gold's.
yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be so skinny still if I hadn't have moved.
I mean, you love the Raiders, but I mean, I remember growing up, you've been mainly a baseball guy,
Oh, for
right?
sure. Yeah,
You
yeah.
like the A.
Yeah.
I'm still that way. Like A's are number 1, Raiders 2, and then Warriors number 3. So college football in there somewhere too. But
Yeah, you don't need to be super jacked to play baseball.
yeah, which yeah, that's why it worked out for me as far as it did. I wish I could have gone a little bit further, but it is what it is. It all worked out the way I guess it was supposed to. So, um, with that being said, give us the background on your dad. Like you said, he was a fullback to start, and obviously he went to the university we won't speak of. You could speak of it. It's fine.
Billy, Billy's always been a little bit of a anti BYU guy
Yeah.
because it's. But
Yeah, we can't help it.
you count?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. My dad went to BYU, and he was a fullback in all throughout BYU, and then he got drafted by the Cowboys actually in 1978, and they wanted him to convert to tight end, and I think because of his background and he was fresh in the NFL, so he didn't know how, for lack of a better word, expendable players were back then. He declined, so they just cut him, and he wasn't with them for very long.
And thank you, Dallas.
Yeah, yeah. I think he was there when they went to a Super Bowl, but as far as I remember, they got crushed that year. So he didn't get a ring with Dallas. He actually hopped around to a few different teams, including the Giants and like the Eagles and stuff. But then finally, I think in '79 or '80, landed with the Raiders and played special teams for the first couple of years. Actually, his first NFL touchdown ever was with special teams. He got lucky, I think. Well, at least that's my opinion. He was on kick coverage, and the returner fumbled in the end zone, and he just jumped on it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You have a funny story about him on special teams, specifically long snapper.
Oh, probably the most famous picture of Ray Guy of all time is where he is jumping up to like 12 feet in the air.
OBJ.
Yeah. Certainly like OBJ and the ball. My dad actually, I think, was on America's Game talking about that play. My dad was the long snapper for that. And so it's a little bit of a claim to fame before he became an awesome tight end that he was the guy that snapped the ball for that iconic Ray Guy moment.
Made him look real good.
But if I remember right, the way that he described it was that he was on a play before, like he went out for a pass and got pushed, and so he put his hands out to brace himself when he landed on the ground, and his hands skidded across the grass and the chalk, and so his hands were like sticky and slick, so the ball just kind of shot out from his hand. Thankfully, Ray Guy's got some good hops. So.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
That was my favorite story that if I remember right, it was TJ that would always give him crap about that play.
Yeah. As I got older, I didn't let him forget it either.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun thing, because he was dad. It was cool that he was famous, but it was like he's our dad, so we don't have to, venerate him or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We felt a little bit more emboldened to make fun of him.
I would never, because his hand was about the size of my upper body, so.
Yeah, that was a really surreal thing. That you talking about my upper body just a second ago. He told me that I got bigger than him.
Yeah.
That was weird because all throughout growing up, and even the year that he passed away, I was still looking at him as like a giant.
Yeah. And I mean, still to this day, that's how I remember him. When I was, what? I think I was 10 when we moved away. So, I was quite short for my age, and
Both of us at that age, though, my dad being like 6'3", between 6'3" and 6'4",
yeah.
and us probably being like 3'10".
Yeah. I mean, I didn't hit 6 feet until, I don't know, I was a junior, senior in high school. So, and even that was like, I had to have this huge growth spurt to get up to that. I think I
I
grew,
still haven't hit it.
yeah. So even to this day, if he were still around, I'd be looking up to him. So, but yeah, no, I think you, like I said, I've seen some pictures and it's very impressive. I wish my arms were half your size.
Uh, Something else about me is because I use a wheelchair, I like to make jokes about it because it's a kind of a coping thing,
Yeah.
and my brain really picks up on when people say stuff that you just said. If he was still here, you'd still be looking up to him, and I was like, so would I.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think you should probably highlight how many surgeries you've been through, because I think that is a staggering number. Last I saw, I think it was up to 27, or is that way off?
It's more than that now. I'm 33 years old, and I've had 32 of them.
Whew. Yeah, so,
Wow.
There was a point there when I had more surgeries than life,
yeah,
but now it's been a few years. The last surgery I had was 2017, so
that's good news.
yeah.
It's never fun going under the knife, so.
Yeah, that one was pretty dumb. I just literally fell over and broke my finger. So
Yeah, well, and you mentioning the wheelchairs, that reminds me of those wheelie contests we used to have back in the day on the
yeah,
ramp going into the house.
yeah, those were fun. And
Miss Kathy did not like those.
no, since you moved away, I met a buddy in junior high who is in an electric wheelchair.
Yeah.
And in high school, he and I had a race up and down the halls of the high school. And I used a manual wheelchair, and I beat him once. It was pretty cool.
That is cool.
That's awesome.
All right. So let's move on to his you left off. He was picked up by the Raiders and
Yeah.
special team. I think it was 82 he made the move to tight end full time.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
So I think you've already covered one of our questions is in what caused him to resist the transition to tight end. It's what he wanted to run. But I think if he would have seen where tight end was going, not only as he was getting towards the end of his career, but where it's going now, I think he would have.
Yeah.
just jumped all over that. But so 82.
So,
Go ahead.
I've had a few people tell me that it wouldn't be where it is now if it weren't for him. So
I believe that.
I
I could
think
absolutely see that.
he wouldn't have known if he wouldn't have played it.
Right. So 82, I think that was his first Pro Bowl.
I'm not sure. Let me look him up.
Either way, great season. I think he realized that was a good move. 83 was his first Super Bowl with the team.
Yeah. So he 5-time Pro Bowl through from 1983 to 1987. So
Okay.
1983, I think, was probably his first year. And that was the year that they went to the Super Bowl, and I think that was the year that he had 93 catches. So he led the league in receptions that year.
Yep.
So he was 5-time Pro Bowl, 4-time All Pro, and led the league in receptions twice. It's honestly still probably the coolest football card that I have seen.
Yep.
And he might have given you one. I don't know if he had.
But it was only signed by him. It wasn't signed by Jerry Rice yet because he hadn't sent them to Jerry to sign yet.
If you ever get to meet Jerry Rice, that would probably be worth.
Oh, for sure.
A chunk.
Because I think they only made 200 of them or something like that, right? Or was
Kyle? Have you seen that?
I haven't. I gotta check this out.
No.
There's a football card that says 1986 reception leaders, and it's Jerry Rice on one side and my dad on the other side. So they
I'm looking at it right now.
they share a football card with each other. But
That's crazy.
I got to tell you, the coolest part of that though was that my dad had more.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
my dad led the entire NFL that year. To be fair, Jerry was a rookie, I think, but
Still, that's amazing.
it's kind of awesome. And the first time I ever met Jerry Rice, he told me that my dad had the best hands in the league, which was pretty cool.
Yep. And I still believe
That's
that to this
crazy.
day. Like I said.
My dad wore gloves, so I think that he had the best natural hands ever.
Yes, there it is. Because a lot of those receivers and tight ends were using Stickum and whatever else to put up those numbers. So,
a lot of funny stories about Master Stickum.
Yeah, I don't think I realized, because obviously I've been a Raiders fan my whole life, but all of his playing years were before I was born. You and I were born. So I didn't realize how good he was until he showed me that card. And then I was like, wait. You're on a card with Jerry Rice. Like, the Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
So.
He actually retired in 1989. So I was 2. So you might have been like 1 or 2. So technically he was still playing when we were born, but just we don't remember any of it.
Well, yeah.
We didn't see any of it. So
yeah. So basically he played, well, I think the 89 season he was hurt most of the year, and that's when he called it. So I think he basically played 6 years at tight end. And if you compare his numbers to Hall of Fame tight ends such as Mike Ditka, even on his same team, Dave Casper, his numbers compare very favorably. I think Dave has probably a few more touchdowns if I remember right, but your dad leads him in receptions and yards and fewer games if I recall.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm on board for the Hall of Fame, and I know you've been campaigning for it for quite a few years. What have I missed there in my campaigning for him? on my side.
My dad had me help him write up his case for the Hall of Fame, and I don't have it on me right now, but he did go through a lot of those things. Like, he had more Super Bowls than a few of his Hall of Fame contemporaries. Obviously, the Super Bowl is a team thing, but he contributed to that.
For sure.
He did have more touchdowns than some of them.
Yep.
And more yards, and obviously more receptions. And in a couple of those categories, he has, I think my dad and I went through the years, and he has more than several of them, more than once. So, like, he has better seasons than a few of them, too.
Yeah.
I don't really know what weight that has with voters and the people in charge. Kind of wish that it did. It just based on playing, I would say that he's earned it.
For sure. And I think the staggering thing to me is, like I said, he basically played 6 years where he wasn't like hurt or anything. So where he's actually putting up stats at the position. So you got to factor in the amount of games played. Back then, I think they were playing 15. Is that right, or was it?
Yeah,
I think it was
like
15. That. So 15 times 6, what's that? 80 games.
Mm-hmm.
So basically 80 roughly games at the tight end position, and he's leading a lot of these guys that played 140, 160 games. And one that strikes home for Kyle is Heath Miller. He's basically, I wouldn't say Heath is a Hall of Fame tight end because of the era that he played in, but your dad's numbers compared to Heath Miller over 12 seasons is almost identical in half the amount of games. So that to me is pretty staggering, because I think a lot of people respect what Heath Miller did at tight end. Todd Heap, very similar numbers. Even Kellen Winslow has very similar numbers to him, and everyone says Kellen Winslow is the best tight end to ever play the game.
Something really cool that I saw recently, that my brother and I saw recently, recently, like a few months ago, the NFL had a series of videos called like roundtables.
Mm-hmm.
You ever see any of those?
I think I've seen one or two, yeah.
Yeah, they had different positions and like grades from those positions, all sitting around a table talking to each other. The coolest part of that was for tight ends, Tony Gonzalez was kind of hosting it, but Kellen Winslow was there, and Tony Gonzalez asked him, he's like, was there ever an opposing tight end that you would go up against that you knew that you were going to get into it with? And like, before he finished the question, Kellen Winslow was like, Todd Christensen.
Yep.
That was cool.
It's amazing.
Kellen Winslow, I think in a lot of people's opinions, Kellen Winslow is seen as like the premier tight end of that time.
Yep.
For sure. Some of it has to do with, playing through that game, obviously, the toughness, but he's definitely considered one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to jump in and say, you guys talking about comparable stats, I think one of the craziest things for me, as far as just how Hall of Fame has not happened yet for him, is the 1,000-yard seasons is one of the craziest stats for me, because him and Kellen, I think him and Winslow are tied for the most during the tight ends that went into the Hall of Fame, or during that era. So his stats are right there with Kellen Winslow.
In fewer games.
And in way fewer games.
And
so for me, it's like, I'm a big tight end guy. I don't know. I know Bill knows that, but there is no better position on the field for me than tight end. So I get super excited about tight ends, period. But I mean, I think they have a breakdown on one website of all the Hall of Fame tight ends that have gone in the modern era, and your dad's compared to them on each stat line, and it makes zero sense.
Yeah, there's an article called "Why Isn't Todd Christensen in the Hall of Fame Yet?" I think, and it's written by a guy like locally here for a newspaper in Utah.
That's awesome.
But just speaking of the breakdown that you're talking about, I think that's the same article. I think we've seen both of them. I think that I think my brother actually may have sent that in.
That's awesome.
That breakdown is like the exact same thing that my dad and I went through, and I have that on a I have that on a Word document in my external hard drive right now.
Nice.
It was kind of a fun hypothetical thing that my dad and I did when we were preparing the Hall of Fame case thing. Was when we were doing that, it was just shortly a year or two after Tom Brady threw 50 touchdown passes. And so he and I went through and kind of calculated whether, like, how many, because we looked at how many Gronk had of that year. And then we compared it with how many times, like, Jim Plunkett threw. And Jim Plunkett probably threw, like, only like 2/3 of the same amount of times during the game. So modernly, they throw probably, they throw a significant amount more than they used to. And so I think that we calculated my dad's best season, the 95 catch season, kind of used inflation to calculate what it would have been had Tom Brady been his quarterback, throwing the same amount of times. And I think that we calculated that he would have like 150 catches.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the point I was going to make is Kellen Winslow was in a much pass-happier offense even compared to your dad. Your dad had a little guy by the name of Marcus Allen as a teammate, if I recall.
Yeah.
I think he got a few touches per game, so.
Marcus was good. And my dad briefly overlapped with Bo Jackson, too.
Yes.
So
I was going to ask if he
crazy.
did.
There was two awesome running backs. It's like, all right, we don't need to pass a whole lot.
See, and I thought Bo was slightly after your dad, but I was going to ask if they overlapped at all.
I think Bo came in my dad's last year. I think Bo started in 1989.
Yep, that's what I thought.
So they might not have played in the regular season together, but I think that they overlapped in like training camp and stuff.
Yeah. I wish I would have had the chance to ask him how ridiculous Bo was in person because I never got to see it, but that guy was insane.
My dad liked to say like he was blessed by the gods.
Yeah. Well, and he had some.
He was just jacked and didn't work out a ton.
Yeah. He was just
jacked fast, which is like, how was that a combination?
Yeah. Who was your dad's favorite teammate? Because if I had to guess, I've got one in mind, and I just want to see if it's the same person. I think it might be.
I want to know who you think it was, because I don't think my dad would ever answer that.
Howie Long.
Maybe. I don't think I ever asked him who his favorite was.
I mean, Plunkett was a great dude too, but well, and I think I don't know. That's pretty tough because they would have interacted a lot more than he would have with Howie being on the opposite side of the ball.
Yeah, I think my dad liked Marcus also.
Marcus, yeah. That was going to be my second pick, I think, is Marcus.
Well, he's got plenty to pick from. That's a pretty crazy locker room.
Yeah. Well, and he even met Tim Brown.
Liked, he got along with most of the guys on the team.
Because Tim Brown was 88 Rookie of the Year, so had to split some passes with him. But anyway, couple fun things that I wanted to talk about before we end this. One of the craziest things I remember seeing is I put on an episode of American Gladiators after I had moved away to Nebraska and saw your dad on there, and that was just a hoot to me.
Oh, man.
How many years did he do that? Do you know?
I think it was only one.
Oh, okay. So if you ever pop on an old episode of American Gladiators, you might see.
Honestly, some of the most fun jokes ever. Just because.
Oh, for sure.
Because a lot of times we would go to hotels that would have like ESPN Classic.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason they would show American Gladiators at like 2:00 in the morning. And I would call my dad. I'd be like, "You're on American Gladiators."
Yep. I think that was one of the funniest things I remember is, yeah, it was ESPN Classic I was watching in Nebraska. And I was like,
his hair was pretty choice back then, though.
Yeah.
Shoulder length perm.
Yeah. And that's what I saw. I was like, that sounds like Todd. That's definitely Todd. I didn't know he hosted American Gladiators.
Adam, I think, was his partner.
Yeah. And then he worked for ESPN and CBS Sports Network. My favorite was seeing him on Mountain West Sports Network.
Can I back up just a little bit?
Okay.
Because you missed something that is still one of my favorite things, because somebody just like 2 days ago tweeted me and they're like, "Saw your dad on Married with Children episode."
No. He was on there?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There is a Married with Children episode, I think it's called Kelly Knows Something, where she wins a chance to go on a game show, a sports game show.
Yeah.
And my dad is the host.
Nice.
His character's name is Travis James. He's it's pretty funny. The reason that it's so funny is that my dad, because Married with Children is in syndication, my dad still sometimes gets residuals from that.
How much is it?
But because he's such a big part in that game, in that episode, the residual checks is for like $1.75. And every time it was great, because before he passed away, every time we would get that in the mail, it was because he thought it was hilarious too.
Yeah.
It like wasn't upset by that, but it just became a joke because it like decreased also.
Oh boy.
I think he got one that was less than $1.
That's funny.
Yeah. And I think that depends on like the network that it's shown on or
Right.
something.
And I'm sure how many times they show it, but
yeah, there have been a couple that he like a couple of dollars, but then there was one that he got like 75 cents. My dad's like, "Yeah, let's go buy a stick of gum."
yeah.
I love it.
That's fantastic. That's why when you said earlier that he was having psychology as a backup plan, I don't believe it. Like, I feel like had football not worked out, someone would have picked him up on a network or something like that, because not only was he like, he's a good-looking dude, he was also very eloquent, very charismatic. Like, I don't see him working in a job like that. I feel like he belonged in front of a camera or, on a football field, something like that.
I think that baseball might have been another alternative for him too, because he told me that he went and tried out for the A's when he retired from football.
Did he?
Yeah.
I wish he could have seen me play.
Yeah. That would have been cool.
Like,
My dad, I think, was a three-sport letterer in high school, so I think he played basketball, baseball, and football.
yeah,
So he had options,
yeah, for sure.
but like we said, football, that was number one, and he wasn't gonna accept not getting that. I don't think.
For sure. All right. Was there anything that we didn't ask you that we should have?
Kyle, do you have any other questions?
No, all I can say is just it's awesome meeting you. Huge fan, obviously, of your dad. So this has been really, really cool to just chat about it. And I'm gonna have to check out some of your stuff. It's amazing everything you do as well. So it's been fun being able to sit here and chat with you.
Thank you. Bill, I think I cut you off. You were going to talk about his broadcasting, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say my favorite was always watching him on Mountain West Sports Network before they got rid of that. And that's because even like, so I was usually watching it for Wyoming or University of Utah, but there was plenty of times he would call games for BYU and it would just be on. And just hearing him talk about, like, the game would be a blowout or whatever, and you would just hear him talk about some life stories or interesting facts about university and things like that. I wish he would have got some more playthrough on some of the bigger networks because I feel like he would have been a great in that avenue on national television. So
yeah, he was pretty good with ESPN. I got to say though, I agree with you though. I think that the Mountain was probably my favorite of his broadcasting jobs, even though they were a little bit more small time.
Yeah.
His broadcast partner with that was my favorite broadcast partner he's ever had, James Bates. James Bates works for CBS now.
Yep.
But I think because he wasn't working for a super high profile network, he felt like he could do a little bit more. He could do a little bit more fun stuff.
Yeah.
With it. I remember him telling me that he was calling a game with it was just a blowout, like you were saying. And he and James Bates called the game with like Dumb and Dumber quotes.
Yeah. I remember that one. I think it was San Diego State and BYU, if I remember right, because that's the exact one I was thinking about when I was mentioning the Mountain West Sports Network.
Yeah. So, like, they had some of the most embarrassing commercials, but they were still. You ever seen any of those, Bill?
The commercials? No, but I do remember the Super Bowl dance or whatever they did with the Raiders, and your dad was featured.
I was going to talk about the silver and black.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Is this a thing where people watch it, or?
Yeah. So
you got to do that some of the time. Just like put on silver and black.
I can play it right now, I think. I'm sharing my screen, so let's see. Oh no, I'm not sharing my screen there. I'll put it on one of these episodes just so they can see what we're talking about. But my favorite line, and they played this in our elementary school, and it made me laugh so bad because it was the first time I'd heard your dad say a curse word. Go ahead and explain it. It was beautiful.
I don't remember the curse word that you're talking about.
So at the end he says, "Just give me." Oh, maybe it wasn't him.
Oh, that was Marcus.
Oh, it was Marcus.
That was Marcus.
Okay.
But that one is really funny.
It is super funny.
Marcus was going through. Marcus's line is running and catching to me is the same. Just give me the ball, get you some yards. 3 decades of destiny. It's all in the cards. But apparently he had a hard time going through it, and he just kept doing take after take after take after take. And at least that's what my dad told me. And he got to a point where he was tired and just like frustrated. And so he's just like, running and catching to me is the same. Just give me the damn ball.
and it was beautiful. But seeing your dad with his curls, long hair, doing that dance, whew. And I think Howie was next to him too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll have to play that on one of the. We'll play it on the next one just so everyone can see what we're talking about. But
Absolutely.
Because that a lot of good teasing with my dad with that one too.
oh, for sure. I think I even gave him a hard time about that one. So
Good. He was good natured about it
he
though.
was.
Like he he wasn't. He didn't seem super full of himself.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was like during his playing days, but I don't think he was. I mean, from what I've heard of Raider Nation fans on Twitter, he was gracious with them as well. So I
Oh,
don't.
I'm sure.
That if people teased him about that, he rolled with it.
That's one other thing I forgot to ask you that I wanted to. He was part of the move from Oakland to LA, and then I think even back to Oakland. No, they were still in LA when he retired, I think. I don't think
Oh.
they moved back to Oakland until 95, if I recall right. So, w- were you guys living in LA, Oakland area, or where was that?
Uh,
Well,
I
you
think my
weren't.
family.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, you weren't part of
I
that.
wasn't born yet, but when they lived in, or when the Raiders were in Oakland, my family lived in the Bay Area,
Okay.
and then um, when they moved to Oakland or to LA, we lived in a small suburb of LA.
Okay. Because I know a lot
Called,
of the players just stayed in Oakland and made the trip. They didn't really have practice facilities or anything like that in LA, if I remember right.
I think they practiced at a high school.
Yeah. So very interesting times, and he got to be a part of that fun move. So
Mhm.
just a fun fact. I swear there was something else, but I'm looking through my notes here and I don't see anything else. So any other funny stories or anything you wanted to share?
In your show notes, like you have the question at this point: would he have to be a senior?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. If he was to make the Hall of Fame, I think by now it's been more than 30 years, so he's got to be inducted with the senior committee. And it's disappointing to me. I saw Kenny King Jr. Tweet just recently about Cliff Branch. So I know there's a ton of Raiders that deserve recognition.
sure.
But apparently now the Hall of Fame is only doing like one senior guy a year. And so that's going to be even slower going, I think.
Yeah.
Has your family been contacted at all about by the Hall of Fame, or is it only they contact if he's been selected as a senior committee or something like that?
I think it's only the contact if he's selected.
Okay.
I've contacted them a couple of times. I tried looking up who the voters are and stuff, but I get pretty canned responses.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, they don't.
Well, did get a couple of personalized ones. One guy saying, don't lose hope. If he deserves to get in, he'll get in.
Yeah.
But that was probably well, I think that was before he was dead. So, I guess we might not have the same opinions of whether or not he deserves to get in. I don't understand it because I think he was good enough.
Yeah. Well, and I think if they looked at the numbers of where he was actually playing at that position, like I said, the per game production is off the charts for anyone in that era, even Kellen Winslow. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if that's what they based it off of.
Well, and I'm sure they based it off the entire career. I don't know what he did as a fullback. Obviously, they don't really put those numbers. I don't remember seeing his career rushing yards or any of that stuff. So,
I don't know.
He did. He put up such an amazing career at tight end, though. That's irrelevant.
Right. I don't think that should
We're
even
on
be
board.
considered. Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
even like special teams, you got to make your way onto the roster before you can make an impact. So some
Absolutely.
people start their careers at special teams, and that's how they get into the light. So, um,
Mhm.
what would it mean for you and your family for him to get in? Obviously, it's way late, and he won't be here to see it. But for you specifically, your brothers and your mom, what would it mean for you guys?
Uh, well, yeah, it's a little bit dampened uh, that he's gone. So
For sure.
it would be cool. It just, while he was here, that was the one thing that he wanted most. As in terms of accolades, I mean, he had other priorities and things. I mean, his family was really important to him as well. But in terms of his career, the NFL Hall of Fame was like the goal.
Yep.
And like, because of how well he played, he got into several different Hall of Fames throughout his life, like the Nike Hall of Fame and like the BYU Hall of Fame, Utah Sports, just in general, Utah Sports Hall of Fame, Oregon Hall of Fame. He got into, it's another joke, he got into his elementary's Hall of Fame.
I thought I remembered seeing something about his high school as well. Is that
Well, that might, no, that he got into both.
okay? Well, don't short him there.
Yeah, that was my bad. He got into Sheldon High School Hall of Fame also.
Boom.
but the main one he just hasn't gotten into, and
Yeah.
so I think for us it would mostly be exciting because that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably the main thing. I don't know exactly what would come of it if he gets into the Hall of Fame. What it would come of it for our family, I mean.
Yeah.
It just would feel like validation for him.
I'm not gonna say if. I'm gonna say when. When he does get in, I would love to be there with you guys.
Yeah.
I don't have to be on stage. I would just like to be there with you guys.
Yeah. I think when he gets in, I'll call you and we can broadcast it for your podcast.
There we go.
There you go.
In all seriousness, like I said, I don't think it's an if. I think it's a when. We've seen Cliff Branch, Stabler, Tom Flores. They've all gotten in recently. Well, I guess Cliff Branch will probably be next year. Yeah. I mean, I think once they get to the point of actually contacting, it's not a this is a possibility. It's he's been selected as senior committee. He's going to get in. So I think that'll be good for Cliff. And I think if you go down the list of Raiders that are deserving, I think your dad's right at the top of the remaining that haven't got in. So we'll keep pushing anything we can do to help. I was
Yeah,
really
that would be
hoping.
the only thing I would ask is for people like myself. I mean, is there anything we can do? I mean, blasting social media, whatever. I mean, anything people could do to help get involved, I guess.
I don't know. I will look for the case that he made with me, and I'll send it to Bill.
Boom.
And
Excellent.
if you guys want to share it out, you can.
Oh, well, for sure.
Oh yeah, we'd love to.
You know what? It might be helpful if you guys want to help me rewrite it. Like, some of the things might be a little bit more. Like, he was talking about how he didn't have the same quarterbacks that other guys in the Hall of Fame had. And when reading through it, it seemed like it might be a little critical, and so maybe we could just write it more focusing on his accomplishments and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the fact that Derek Carr, 7 years into his career, has set every Raiders record at quarterback, I think kind of speaks to that.
Yeah.
Rich Gannon was, I think, second in most of those categories, and he only played 4 or 5, maybe not even 5. I think it was probably 3 or 4 years with the Raiders. So
That's
Yeah.
it's,
interesting that Derek Carr's done that. I mean, that's cool.
I mean,
see a criticism for Derek, and so it's hard to believe that he's that accomplished.
yeah,
Or I mean, surprising to hear.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Obviously, different eras where they're throwing the ball a lot more, but I mean,
Yeah.
and some of that criticism is undue. Derek Carr hasn't been the reason they went, 3-13 or whatever it was his rookie season. I think it was 4-12, all that stuff, and they haven't been good since, really. A couple years here and there, but yeah, we'll do everything that we can to help this. I was hoping, I reached out to Amy Trask and she actually got back to me, but she didn't have any stories about your dad, which kind of surprised me. But I don't think they probably overlapped a ton because I think she was just starting out with the Raiders probably about the same time he got signed by the Raiders. So I doubt she had much interaction with the players back then. So anyway, I'm sure she's met him since with all the alumni things. Did you guys ever go to those? The alumni dinners that the Raiders do every day or every year?
I'm guessing my parents did.
Yeah.
I never went to one.
It's absurd. We've got to fix that. You've got to be the representative.
I'd love to go down to Vegas for a game.
We got to go. Like, I already went to the preseason one, but I definitely want to go to another or 100 more. I don't know.
I really want to go down to Allegiant and get my picture taken in front of my dad.
Oh, yeah. I meant to talk about that. There's a mural of former players, and your dad is featured right at the base of the stairs. You shared a picture of your brother, I believe it was, brother and sister-in-law, right in front of that picture.
That's awesome.
I didn't see it when I was there, and I explored the whole stadium except for the third floor. So you'll have to tell me where that's at so I can see it next time, or if I'll be able to see it.
We're going down there this Saturday, so we'll see if we can get to it, and then I'll let you know where it is.
Yeah.
It might actually be on the third floor, which is funny.
Well, and it could be on the main floor. We didn't see any. Well, we did see escalators. We didn't take any escalators because that's where everyone was going to. So we did the outsides, and we went up the stairwells like towards the middle of the stadium. I don't know if that's the way to say it. So it could have been like right in the main lobby. I don't know. We didn't go where everyone was because we wanted to take pictures and everything of the entire stadium. So it could be that we just didn't go where everyone was. But
okay. Well, I know it's next to a staircase. It's not next to an escalator. So
okay.
Because my favorite part of it is that my dad's face is right at the landing.
Yep.
So it's like we can stand on that landing and take a picture. And the cool part about it also is he's the only one that doesn't have a helmet.
Yep. You can see his mop.
Right on his face.
The lettuce from back in the day. And it was epic.
The Jerry curl mullet.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would love to ask him the question, did you perm that? Or was it natural?
Kathy did.
He what?
Kathy did.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. My mom permed it for him.
That is fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't know if he would give that information up willingly, but
well, he's not here, so
yeah. But Teren, it's been a pleasure to have you on. We'll have to talk again soon. Tell your mom I said hi. I miss her. TJ, I think he's the only brother that I really spent much time with. But tell him I said hello as well.
Okay, I will. I'll see him in just a little bit.
Yeah, it was amazing meeting you. It was a good chat.
Yeah, good to meet you too. I really enjoyed this, so I don't know how much more I can talk about my dad. So, but if you want me to come on again,
Yeah, we'll have you on again for sure.
Absolutely.
And if we're gonna put together a case, we'll have you on to discuss it, and we'll go from there. So, again, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you got everything out that you wanted to say, and if not, we'll get it out next time. And yeah, just appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for being fans
Yes.
of my dad.
Oh, we got to get Raider Nation involved, because I feel like if we get enough traction on Twitter or any social media, really, I feel like the Hall of Fame will see that and hopefully at least revisit the case.
Yeah.
And Raider Nation comes through, so.
And I'm hoping more than just Raider Nation.
Yeah.
I mean, it transcends team at this point.
Actually, I was just going to say, sorry, but I was saying to Carl, you can get the Steelers in there too, but that's actually one of my favorite things now that my dad's gone is fans of other teams being like, I hated your dad.
I'm sure.
No, they didn't hate your dad. They hated playing against him.
Right. That's right. Like,
yes.
I did, but they phrase it as I hated your dad because he was good.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, that's cool. It's like I never got to see him live. Well, maybe as like a newborn, but we've got like highlight films and stuff.
Right.
And it's fun to watch those, but to actually hear that he was as good as presented is pretty cool.
Well, and I got to live vicariously through my dad, because my dad, when he found out that Todd was your dad, I think he about pooped himself. And
I can imagine. He
would tell me stories, because he grew up during that era watching your dad play and Marcus Allen and all those greats, and even before that, he stuck me into the Raider Nation, but I didn't get to see any of the glory days. He got to see it all. So I always say you're quite selfish for that. But like I said, he was very complimentary of your dad, and obviously I went back and watched the clips, and I was just like, holy smokes. But anyway, we'll do whatever we can to help out, and like I said, we'll have you on again once we get through that case. I feel like we can probably portray the stats a little better if we just show the tight end stats, don't include the games at fullback or special teams or any of that stuff, and hopefully we can get some traction and get him in there at like he deserves. So
that'd be pretty cool.
All right. Anything else that we missed? I know we've been talking a while.
I don't think we've missed anything for now, but if you think of more, then feel free to ask.
Sounds good. I've got your number, so I hope you enjoy your visit at Allegiant Stadium, although it won't be for the best reason.
Yeah.
He's going to watch BYU game. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. BYU in Arizona this weekend in Allegiant Stadium. So.
Yeah. So it'll be cool. I hope you get a picture next to that. If you do, send it, and we'll post it on our social media so everyone can see it.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, good catching up with you, and like I said, we'll talk again soon.
Okay, sounds good. Good catching up with you and good meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
All right. Have a good rest of your guys' night.
You too.
Yeah, you too.